Kingy, couple of games on last night. There's been 4 across the week so far. Footy every day is nice. There's another couple today. What have you made of it all?
It's been exciting, hasn't it? And good morning, everyone. I think it's been terrific to see teams trying to play fast footy now. The conditions obviously were difficult for both matches last night. Yep. A little bit slippery, a little bit wet and wild. All sorts of things going on at the Swans and Lions games with the power going out and snakes and all sorts of delays. So it was a different night of watching footy. But I just think if you're watching the games at the moment, don't get consumed by the scoreboard and don't worry too much about the winning or the losing. Just look for what's new, what's changed from 2023, and what can really give you that spike. You know, every team's looking just to win one more game, 2 more games to break into the 8. You know, I think we don't want to over-assess it too much. But there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about, Cornsey, and I'm just going to get Brooksy to put up on the @SEN Breakfast X handle.
Like it.
I want to chat to you about a clash last night, which was... Once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it was Hayward from the Sydney Swans and Wilmot from the Brisbane Lions. Now, there's 50-50 ball pretty much in the middle of the two. Hayward comes through and leads with the head, and Wilmot does what every coach is now instructing and turns side on as he approaches the point of possession. He makes contact with Hayward's head. Hayward gets the free kick, kicks the goal. Now, even the commentators, Jonathan Brown and Nathan Buckley, spoke about it for 2 to 3 minutes. Who's in the right, who's in the wrong? Now, I just got a view on this, and I've had it for a while. If we are to protect the head, do we need players being rewarded with free kicks for an action that could bring serious trauma, whether it be a neck injury or even just concussion episodes? I'm wondering whether we take the free kick out of the equation, so disincentivise people leading with the head, and try and force them to correct and lead with the shoulder or the rump. Mm-hmm. You can still be reported, as is the case now. You can still be reported for incidents that don't necessarily get you a free kick, but take the free kick off the table. What do you think?
I reckon you're definitely onto something. So you sent this to me this morning, and we're going to discuss it now. It is shocking technique from Hayward, and he ends up with a free kick. Like it is poor technique, and Wilmot's technique is perfect. But I'm wondering whether he gets suspended for this, Wilmot, which is just ridiculous if you look at it, because he has bumped Hayward, who, by the definition of it, has his head over the ball and vulnerable. But Wilmot's done what we've all been taught since we were 5 years of age. Now, we've always not paid a free kick for someone ducking their head in a tackle. So if you duck into it, you don't get paid a free kick. This should be the same. Now, I don't know if it's hard for the umpires to adjudicate or whether it makes it more complicated. And then you're asking umpires to sort of decipher what technique is right and what is not. But so how would you, if you were speaking to the umpires now in the AFL, what would you say to them should be the change?
Make the change and disincentivise players leading with the head. So this is play on. The call here is play on. So you make it easier for the umpire to work out, is it shoulder, is it side, is it head? It's just play on.
Yep.
And if you deem that Wilmot has come in too aggressively and gone outside of the laws, then he will get reported by the MRO and he'll serve his time. But in this instance, I don't think he has. It's just a poor technique from Hayward, and he gets up and takes a kick. So he won't be suspended. At worst, it'd be a fine. But if we're going to be serious...
If he had to go to concussion protocol, I would suggest that Wilmot's in trouble, and you can look at it. We'll post it on our Twitter account, and you can have your say. So the play-on aspect of it I like. It's the same... It's the same thing. If a player leads with their head in a tackle and they duck into it, it's just play on. It's not a free kick against. It's just play on. But this is where I get really confused with the rules, because I wouldn't be surprised if he missed a week for that, particularly if he was concussed, as I said. But I'm thinking that would be ridiculous if that was the case. So it is. I mean, it is.
So take the report out of it for a moment. Take the report. Are you comfortable with the free kick being taken off the table?
100% it is shocking technique from Hayward, and I don't know what he's trying to do in that moment. And Wilmot should not be penalised for going in and attacking that contest perfectly.
See, people tell me that this concussion discussion, it just rages and it upsets the average fan because they think our game's becoming soft. This is a simple change you can make that addresses head trauma in a percentage fashion. It's a 2% of this. It happens very rarely. But if you just
it
take
also
this...
teaches players to protect themselves as well. Our players adapt quickly. Because I think there's an element of some players that attack contests like that, knowing that they're going to receive a free kick. So we all want a free kick, and it's in front of goal. It's a goal. Well, players put that first before their own safety, so they do that, knowing that I'm a chance to get a free kick here if my head's vulnerable. Whereas if you're saying, no, we're not rewarding that, you've actually got to still attack the contest with good technique.
And I agree with this temper texter here ending in 831. The Jack Viney tackle on Brodie Kemp the other night, the players are tending to throw their head into the ground once they know they're going to be tackled and almost challenging the umpire to think it was some sort of spear tackle, which is not the case. So I think we've got work to do here, and this is an easy solution.
Yeah, I think there was one last night with Ward. He got a free kick.
It
might have been Ainsworth. Same thing. That's just not a free kick. He definitely exaggerated contact, got a goal out of it. Play on. It's really hard for the umpires. I get it, and players adapt, and they want a free kick, and they'll do anything to get one. It's an excellent discussion. 1300 736 736. Kingy suggesting a rule change. Check it out.
Can we do a poll? A poll on it?
Yep, we will.
Yes or no? Thumbs up, thumbs down. So it'll be on the @SEN Breakfast handle on X. 096. That's where you can have a quick look and give us your thoughts.
I mentioned this with Jared last night. Just don't panic over pre-season results. So if you look at what went down last year, so if you're a Blues fan, you go, gee, we looked a bit sluggish. We looked vulnerable in defence. Just relax. There'll be some areas that you need to address. But Hawthorn got within a kick of Collingwood in their official practice game last year, and it looked like they were going to win. We know that Collingwood had a hard training block and they were flat. We saw Port Adelaide lose to West Coast and Fremantle in both of their pre-season games. Where Fremantle finished, West Coast terrible. Port Adelaide finished the home and away season third. Sydney smacked Carlton in their official pre-season game, 97-54 last year. And the Blues 5 goals up in a prelim final. Sydney just scrape into the 8. So just relax and take them with a pinch of salt. Don't discount some concerns that you've got, but pre-season often means little, and it is a long season. I want to play this from Brett Montgomery. So he's been in the game for a long time, Kingy, and I always think to myself, what is the difference between the best teams and the good teams? And I reckon he gave us a bit of gold last night on Sports Day in explaining what the best teams are doing and what they're asking their players to do. Have a listen.
Yeah, I think that the underpinning stuff with the system that you're seeing probably for 4 or 5 clubs, they're pretty similar. It is definitely role-based, which I know is a bit of a cliche, but sort of brings that to life a little bit more than the clubs that sort of just pay lip service to roles. They're very specific, and they help you. Most importantly, they help you move the ball. They also set the ground up really well to make sure other teams can't move the ball against you. And look, it takes some education. It certainly takes some commitment and parking the ego at the door a little. But I think we'd all agree that the brand of footy the reigning premiers play is a pretty exciting one, and it's role-based. So, look, there's a lot to like about it.
Is the difference between the best teams and the good teams what they ask of their role players? So he says that clubs that play lip service to role players, no good, forget about them. Whereas the teams that are successful have role players that help you move the ball and stop the opposition moving the ball. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's... I think the next part of that is when you start winning games of football, everyone gets rewarded. So you play your role, we win, we roll on, unchanged. Everyone tells me that. I love that. That was a great conversation. I heard it last night when I was in the car. He just spoke sense.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we do, and this is why we do it. And if you're not prepared to do it, that's fine. We'll have to re-educate you and bring you back in different ways. And then the star factors, we ask them to be role players with a bit of extra on top.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice way to finish that discussion as well.
So can you get your team's players to buy in to playing a less selfish brand of football? And it's really difficult. Some some good players want to be good players and they want to stand out and they don't want to play that role for that brief moment. But that's what the best teams are doing, and perhaps that's the difference between the good and the bad.
What's another difference between the good and the bad is regardless of what's at stake, they want to dominate you. I don't know whether you had a chance to catch Toby Green last night.
No, I did.
He just destroyed that game last night. I felt sorry for
He was toying with
Lemons, who's gone back last year.
Butterick was going to him for a bit.
Butterick's thinking, I've missed a stack of footy lately, and you're going to give me this bloke who's on fire. Like, it was great to watch. I do love watching him, and the little maestro was at his best. But I'm telling you now, we talk a lot about CTE. I'll give you another one. CME, the Cameron Mooney effect. So Moons has gone up to GWS and has worked with their key forwards.
Yeah, Cadman looks better.
Well, he's done a little bit with Cadman, but I'll tell you what he's done with Riccardi and with Brown. And he's a big fan of both of those guys. I haven't seen Riccardi be that sort of imposing, physical, full forward type. I've seen him be a nice on the lead, beautiful finisher. He's a lovely kick at goal. He took 4 marks inside 50 last night, and all of them were contested. They were big boy marks, and I thought, wow, he's had an immediate impact on him. And what that does is just raise the bar. Brown, he talks about a lot. He thinks he's a gifted athlete, but to see him go at the ball with a genuine want for contact, I think that's he talked about in the coverage, the missing component to them is probably their key forward stocks.
And
There's a lot of
Hogan
reliance.
didn't play last night either.
No, a lot of reliance on Jesse and Toby to kick the goals. So if those other two can meet them halfway, and the wild card of a young Cadman, I'm not going to let's leave him to the side for the moment. But if these other blokes can just be, key post targets and bring the ball to ground, gee, they're going to be a team in 24. I think we should start a campaign. We should start a campaign for the Coaches Association to recognise the role player. They should have an award. It's great they do the best player. They're great. They do all the other stuff, right? But they don't recognise the player they keep telling us is the most important in their team.
Yep, definitely. But what we should go one step further. You and I should have our role player award this year. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking.
Like it.
I'm just thinking on the spot. But every Friday, we should mention the role player of the week.
I like it.
And then we can tally some votes. We'll get our audience involved. We'll get our sponsors involved. And at the end of the year, we will have the role player of the year for Fireball Friday.
We're going to vote the guy who gets no recognition anywhere. He won't. You don't even chat about him in your All-Australian team. He's probably not kicking goals. He's definitely not getting 30 a week.
Yep. So,
we're going to vote the guy no one talks about.
And it's perfect for each of you who support your team and watch it so closely. For who you love. Who's the guy that is protecting the switch on the open side of the ground that does not touch the football but stops the opposition team from going there?
Love it. But we're going further. Next Friday, we're going to give out the last 4 years retrospective role player of the year. This year we'll track it. We're just going to hand it out retrospectively.
And then we'll get them on at the end of the year.
Castagna's coming through thick and fast on the text message here. Was he role player of the? Was Paul Puopolo the role player of the year in Hawthorn?
He's good. There's a bit of love for Jed Buse out there already from the Cats. Those ones that put their hand up to play on the best opposition small forward every week. There's no reward in doing that. Okay,
he's probably making nothing. He's probably on bottom rung of the pay scale,
making minimum chips. That's a challenge for us this year on Fireball Friday. What do you do with the forward line? Does Mitch McGovern go and play the role that he played pretty well at Adelaide? He was explosive, could sit on heads and kick a goal, or do you keep him back? To answer your question, I'd keep him back just because I think he's the X factor. He's the creator of halfback. He's the one that's willing to take a difficult kick. Well, he's the interceptor. If it's not him, every good team, has a good intercepting defender. Who is it? I mean, Kemp's not it.
But he is. I think they've got two of the same guy.
Well, I don't think he's good enough to play, Kemp.
Good enough to play?
I don't think he's in.
Where did this come from?
I just don't. Have you watched him recently?
Yeah, I thought he was very good the other night.
I don't think he's in. When Wiedering is back and McGovern is there and Young is there, I don't think he's the one I'd be going to.
I'd be loading up with your runners. I think Doherty's a star halfback.
I heard you say that during the call. Yeah,
Doherty, Williams and Sard would be my three express backline. I wouldn't have McGovern as part of that. I'd trust Kemp and then I'd have a couple of talls now, whoever they are.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, they have to address the fact that they're going to be short of key position talent down back with Wiedering out, and maybe De Koning has to ruck and then go behind the ball, like Max Gawn did at Melbourne probably 3 seasons ago now, to give them a chance to assist with the intercept marking and the defending, and then play express.
Yep. So there's some questions over whether Pitnet and De Koning can play in the same team together. He's
Where do you see?
beaten bad. I'd probably only go one and then have Harry do some ruck work. Carlton fans suggesting that Jack Martin is the guy that you're looking for. That X
doesn't
factor
play.
in that. Yeah, when he did play, I mean, he's pretty solid last year. I really admired what he did last year, and I thought he definitely enhanced his reputation. He's close to coming back. They're raving about Motlop, and he's still a young player. I think he's going to become a very good small forward. So I don't know if you can go Curnow, Mackay, McGovern, or an extra tall, a third one in that forward line.
Jack Martin hasn't played more than 13 games in 3 years. Now, you just can't bank on those guys. So
No.
you can't set your team up around a guy who plays every second week. You've got to have more consistency than that.
McGovern hasn't played much either, though.
He's played a lot more than that.
Oh, he's been injured a lot, McGovern.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they've got to look at it because their forward line, even though they had the Coleman medalist of 23, was ranked 10th last year at turning an inside 50 into a score. Even when they lit up in the back half of the year, they were still ranked 5th, 6th, or 7th. They were ranked 6th in the back half of the season post-bye. So there's, for the star factor players they got down there, it's still not an absolute weapon.
How concerned, and Blues fans, feel free to have your say. We've got a lot of teams to discuss this morning. Warning signs at Gold Coast, Kingy.
Warning signs.
Well, they've spoken a big game. They've spoken a big game. They're saying finals or bust, really. Finals is a pass mark.
They're saying bust. They're not saying bust.
Well, he said the floor on our ceiling is finals and the ceiling is untapped. So the floor is finals, the ceiling is who knows. And when Damien Hardwick was appointed, the chairman, Bob E, says, right, we're ready to go. It is finals. This is a finals team.
Don't listen to Bob.
Well,
we're not going to sit here and talk about chairman's comments, are we? Seriously.
Well, I think so.
What do you want Bob to say?
Because you've sacked a coach.
What do you want Bob to say, though?
You've hired a 3-time Damien Hardwick on huge money for 5 years. You've got a stacked playing list.
Let's give him 5 minutes.
You've never played finals before in your history, and he's saying it's finals or bust. Then the coaches said it. Hardwick's been speaking a big game through the preseason, and we're not reacting to preseason results, but there is some concerns there.
There's no concerns. Why is there concerns?
Because
Give me one of the concerns. What's one concern you got?
They got beaten by about 50 in contested footy last night. They conceded 30 more entries. They went inside 40 times. They're not giving their forwards a chance. The players are laconic. They play with no energy. There's no real desire apart from Touk Miller and Matt Rao. They are laconic.
But we're not reading too much into the practice match, so are we?
But this is a history. This is going on for a while. This isn't just practice games. This is the team that has underperformed, has never played finals. They've now got a good coach and a very good playing list with a lot of talent, and they're speaking a big game, and I'm not seeing any full-on desire to match the words this preseason.
Well, we saw Adam Kingsley go to an equally talented list to the GWS last year. How were they going at the halfway mark?
Ordinary.
Why wouldn't we give Damien the same luxury and just hold your bullets, as as Braveheart would hold. Just wait until they can embed this game plan. Yes. Wait until they can embed this game plan.
Yeah,
it might take 2 months, and then let's reassess.
Well, I'd be out of a job if I did that.
No, we're not going to make big statements.
I just asked you, are there any concerns about Gold Coast? You're saying
But you
no.
name 15 of them.
Yeah, so they're my concerns. You don't have any.
I have. Oh well, you've always got concerns. Always. I don't know whether is Ben King and Max King going to be what we want them to be. Both Kings.
Good question.
Is Sam Darcy going to blow past both of them?
Very good question. Excellent.
That's where I'm going.
Yep.
I'm looking for positives. Naffs, come with me. I think that Humphrey is going to find a role under Hardwick. We know the Damien Hardwick role. Now he's going to be different.
Yep.
Anderson's going to be a top liner. Miller looks like he's got his form back. I don't know if I love Sexton at halfback, to be frank. I think they've got a problem at halfback that they are plugging with Sexton who's not the player in my eyes that they think he is. Fiorini looked really good. Flanders is going to be a top liner. I'm not as concerned about their list as some. I didn't like seeing Lemons as your first picked lockdown small defender. He looked lost. And it's a difficult position to fill when you absolutely haven't got the guy. So that would be my worry.
Does it mean enough to these guys? Do they know what is required? And maybe it will take half a year
Mac Andrew, what do you think
work
of Mac?
that out. Mac will get there. Mac will get there. But plus 31 in inside 50s, they win stoppage but don't win clearance, beaten up in contested footy, beaten up in every area you could imagine, and they were poor.
They'll win a flag in 3 years.
Poor last week, but you said that last year.
No, I didn't. I told you this year.
You got 2 years left.
No. No, I didn't say that. I said they'd play finals this year, and they'll win a flag in 3.
So you got 2 years left.
I got 3.
No, you said this last year. You got 2 years left. Time is ticking. Kingy, someone had a crack at you during the week.
Again?
Yep, again. 5AA radio station over here. Stephen Rowe, been a long-time host of their Drive Sports show.
What did Rowie do?
Heard what you had to say about Adelaide and just a couple of concerns that you had. It was nothing too critical, but here was his response.
If a dopey umpire had a call to goal, not a point, they'd be in the 8. What do you mean rise significantly, Kingy? 5 games they lost by less than a kick. Won to Brisbane, top 4. Beat Port twice. Lost to Collingwood twice, top 4. Lost to Melbourne by 4 points, top 4. Rise significantly. And as for the injuries, I was down at Crows today. Butts is back this week. Miller is back this week. Saligo will be back probably for a half or for the full game. Sloane's probably not in their best 22. That leaves Murray and Schomburg who are on track to be back. Kingy, injuries are injuries, mate. Do your homework.
He's called for you. He's called for you to do your homework.
Well, I had the injury report, had 6 blokes on it. I can only go off the injury report. I can send you the photo. But I'm not going to get caught up with that. My view is they're not good enough. They're not good enough to contend with the top 4 or 5 teams. Yeah. That's why you get beaten by them, because you haven't got the talent. Don't tell me who they got beaten by. They got beaten by the good ones. What the hell's he talking about? I like Rowie, but let's keep it real. Do you think they're good enough to compete with the top 4 teams right now?
I don't have them top 4. I think they'll beat some top 4 teams, and I think
you think they'll beat some top 4 teams?
Yeah, this year they will. Yeah, if they get them at home and they play a good brand of footy, Adelaide, and they took it up to Collingwood, as Rowie said. I don't want to repeat what he said. They did take it up to Collingwood a couple of times. They will knock off some good teams this year. Will they be there on prelim final weekend? No. But I think they'll make significant improvement and they'll make the 8 is where I've got them.
Well, I don't have them in the 8. I have them just out of the 8. Yep. And if the game didn't stop, if it was basketball up and back, they'd be a top 4 team. But the game stops. And to me, they don't have...
Do you think it's the style of play they play is too taxing? Is that what you're saying there?
No, I'm not saying it's too taxing. I'm just saying they don't have... You can recruit one player and fix your clearance profile in a heartbeat. Dangerfield goes to Geelong. Fixed.
Yeah.
Done. Lachie Neale goes to Brisbane. Fixed. They need that sort of acquisition to fix their midfield. I'm not saying they're incompetent or they can't get the job done. They can get elevated performance, clearly. But right now, they can't compete in the midfield with the good teams. They're not good enough, was my point. I think you've got a very good coach. I just don't think the list is good enough. Now, Rowie can argue that, but I can't see them finishing top 4.
And that's what we love. We love strong opinions. We love putting it out there. If you've got one, let us know. I've seen something so good on social media. And I'm going PAFs here. I'm going positive again, King.
I don't like the new year. I don't like it.
It's not the new year. The season hasn't
fluff
started.
ball Friday.
I'll
rebrand
be fired up very shortly. But Jack Viney, if you go to his Instagram and look at his stories, he's put up a still shot of himself shrugging off an Adam Chera tackle. You don't think much of it, but then you go to the next slide and he's put up another video, which is his work with a grappling expert by the name of Max. So he catches up with Max every week and takes him through his shrugging technique. So he's put the breakdown video of the shrugging technique, then he's put it in action in real time. This is what I love. This is professional athletes taking their career into their own hands, going outside of the club, investing their own money into their craft, and then it paying off in a game. So better for you to go and check out his Instagram story to explain it better than what I just did. But I love full-time professional athletes taking their career by their own hands at his age with what he has achieved. I thought that was awesome. What haven't we covered this morning? Anything else that
I've got a couple of things for you. Yeah, I've got a couple for you. The GWS Giants have had so many first-round picks over the last few years.
Yep.
They've had a tremendous opportunity to build this list. How is Lachie Keeffe still playing for the Giants? How is he one of their key forward options?
It's a good question. He's not. I mean, he's a good backup player.
He's in their team
He's a good depth
every
player.
week.
Well, you've just said that the Cam Mooney effect, the CME.
CME, yeah, well, he's all over. He's not touching Lachie.
Will he be superseded by Riccardi?
They're not flying him to Sydney for Lachie Keeffe, I'm telling you.
And Caddy and Hogan.
Yeah, of course he. Well,
So
I can't believe he's still in the team.
He won't be in the team, but he's a good.
But he is in the team.
We've seen carnage everywhere with key position defenders going down left, right, and centre. If that happens, he can go back. If Sam Taylor rips his hammy, he can go back. If Hogan gets injured like he has throughout the course of his career, he plays. Nothing wrong with the role.
Changed.
The role plays, is there?
No,
I'm with you. If he's
I
there,
can't have it. I can't have
If
it.
he's there on prelim final weekend or grand
He
final
was-
day, I'm going, yeah,
Where do you think he was?
he was there. But if he's,
Where do you reckon he was?
if he's, what do you say to people like me who are concerned about the rule changes that the game is confronting and the safety of the game and what it may look like in 10 years? So you're as strong as anyone on this and protecting the head. And Power Pepper, I think you would have been happy for him to get 6 weeks. Whereas I'm going, okay, well, I get it, I understand it, I know, and I'm conscious of it. But if we cut too deep, the game that we love will not be there anymore, and we may not have a game, and it may turn into Gaelic football. What's your response to that on the last fortnight that I guess we've had, and probably the last 5 to 10 years, to be fair?
Yeah, if you just weren't going to have a common sense discussion,
Yep.
rather than some alarmist, this is going too far. If you're talking about taking out 2% of the game, you're not looking at making drastic change. So I understand your discussion about need of the head in marking contests. There's a risk to that, right? We're prepared to take that risk as a code. We're prepared to take some risk with high-speed collision, that there will be a concussion or two through the course there. Do you know how many concussions there were last season?
There would have been a lot more because we're so much more conscious.
Have a
would there
guess.
be
Have a guess.
3 around? Would there be 70?
Great guess. 69 recorded last year. Now that's a lot, isn't it? That's a high. I feel like that's a really high number. If we can get that down to 50, and have just one sling tackle a week reduction, or one decision to go for that forceful bump when you really don't need to. It doesn't really change. A bloke disposes of the ball, someone runs through him. Do we really want that? Do we need that in our game? Does that make our game any tougher? They're the sort of things I'm talking about. Not wholesale change.
Yeah, no, so to debate this with you, why are we prepared to take a risk on some things, but we're not prepared to take a risk on a rundown tackle from behind, which may not even cause a concussion, but we're going to crack down on that. That's an element in the game that has produced some of the great highlights. Cyril Rioli chasing someone down, big grand final moments, finals moments, Sam Mitchell. So we're prepared to not take a risk with that, but we're prepared to take a risk on some other elements of the game. That's where I just have
I
some
think we
concerns.
are, because we're playing the percentages. How often does it happen in a run-down tackle that we're going to have this discussion? How many times a year do you think? 4, 5?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Well, I think that's okay. The knees in the head in a marking contest, probably twice a year it'll be relevant. Well, that's a low percentage part of our game. So let's hunt on the things that really would be the lion's share of concussive episodes, because we want Angus Brayshaw playing his full career and giving Melbourne 15 years of joy from this guy.
So in hindsight, how do you
cut
see
short.
that incident that it did eventually end his career? That's a 1 in every 5 years, probably, that incident. How do you reflect on that and the way that it was assessed at the time now?
See, I've always been strong on this, and I think we've got ourselves in a really sticky situation with wording. The brace is the enemy. If you brace, you are choosing yourself over the other person. So the brace to me is the same as the decision to bump. So we've created a mess in allowing people to get away with bracing. So it was a bad starting point, and we've struggled ever since. I would be harder on the brace. And I think Pal Pepper had an element of brace in his action.
And he had an option to do something different. So I'm not I'm not critical of the AFL cracking it. Is it 4 weeks? It's
probably not 4. It's probably
harsh.
3.
Seems like they made an example.
It's probably
of
2.
him.
I don't care, but we
yeah.
need to change behaviour.